Empowerment. Empowerment is this like really fun buzzword in leadership that a lot of people use. I want to spend a little bit of time discussing that today and seeing how we can actually step into a great version of empowerment. I feel like a lot of times what we end up with when people talk about empowerment is its far inferior cousin, delegation. Delegation typically looks like this. Hey, we need the kitchen cleaned. Can you two go clean the kitchen? I'm going to empower you to go clean the kitchen. Okay. Uh, how many people walk away from that feeling like, wow, I'm a powerful person who can clean the kitchen? Now, there's times where delegation is necessary in leadership. Like there's some stuff that needs to get done. There's nothing like super awesome or appealing about it. It's like, hey, we need somebody to take care of this. Can you take care of this? Like that's okay. I just don't want you to mistake that for thinking that you have now stepped into empowerment and that people feel so alive under your leadership. Empowerment requires like discovering and unleashing the potential in other people. I love this. I think it is so much fun. Like, God has created some truly amazing people. Honestly, all of them are. For some people, the amazing might be a little bit more well hidden than with others, but that just means you get to get greater exercise in finding out what the greatness is that God has put in them. I love to be on the hunt for potential. And the reality is, a lot of the people you guys are leading are young, and a lot of them don't know their potential yet. And a lot of them haven't had people in their lives who have truly sought out their potential and looked for ways to bring it to life. And so, this first step in empowerment is hunt for potential. Um, Mine for potential. One time we were talking about this as a group of leaders back in the day, and I was talking with Seth, and Seth talked about this thing called fracking. If you're from Texas, you probably know what fracking is. The rest of you probably don't. Fracking is this incredible way that they drill for oil and well, really in particular, natural gas a lot of times, and so they don't always have to like dig all the way down with a drill. They actually have this sand that they call frac sand, and it's like they can shoot it into these cracks, and it like opens up new spaces that you can now have access to all this stuff that you might not have even known was there before. Sorry if I completely butchered what fracking actually is. I have no experience. I just understand the concept in general. But we get to be that with these people that we're leading. We get to not just be like, all right, I'll just kind of wait and watch and I'll see what shows up on the surface. Like a lot of us need more encouragement. We need people to dig and to find the good stuff that's in there. And so this is something that you as leaders can start doing. I'm doing this with the group of leaders I'm with right now. We had a conversation yesterday, and since we're all technology oriented, we're like starting a Google Doc, and we're all going to be writing down what's the potential that we see in the people that we're leading. And then we're going to have regular discussions where we get to the second part of this and say, what are opportunities to give away power and authority and ownership so that this potential can come to life? Now, I don't know if you guys have had this opportunity before. Hopefully you have if you're on the field leading right now, where somebody saw something in you, they called it out and said, man, here's something that's awesome in you, and I want to give you a chance to bring that to life, to use that to serve God's people, to use that to serve God's kingdom. And then they like put you on a course to do it. This is one of the greatest things that you'll get to do in leadership this year. And there's some stuff that has to be kind of put in place in your heart in order for you to be able to do this well. Okay, one of them is you really have to have a heart to see other people become great and greater than you. If you have this thing in you where you think that part of your role as a leader is you always have to be the person who shines the brightest and who is the best, it's going to be really hard for you to empower people because there's going to be this low ceiling. If you start to see other people excel beyond you, you might start to find ways to kind of like sabotage them in a way. How do I know? Chief of sinners, okay? I went through this process when I was the director of the World Race. One time I was sitting with my Uncle Carl, and we were discussing some feedback I'd gotten in some ways that honestly I was like failing miserably in leadership. And Carl was listening to me, and he kind of sits back and he gets this look on his face. You ever had this happen where someone gets this look on their face and you can tell they're trying to figure out if they can say something to you or how to say it to you? So I see this look on his face and I was like, dude, just go ahead and say it. Like, let me hear it. And he's like, sometimes he's like, I feel like I always have to be the man and I have to be the star. And as soon as he said it, the Holy Spirit was like, boom. And I knew it. I was like, oh my gosh, I've spent years leading this ministry and developing leaders and empowering others. But there was this thing under the surface that like, I wanted to make sure that I looked better than them. Guys, there was this ugly thing in my heart. I can admit it very openly now. And I found so much freedom. But I had this thing in me that I was like, I was going to be the most valuable millennial at AIM. So it's like, yeah, I would empower others and I wanted others to become great leaders as long as at the end of it, I looked like a really great leader because they were leading well. There was so much of it that was about me. And I would encourage you guys, like, do some seeking of your own heart with that and ask the Lord, like, man, if there's any of that stuff in me, like, please reveal it. I don't want to do that. Is your heart really to see the people around you become the full version of themselves that God created them to be, even if that means they look better than you do at the end of the day? If people on your team are start looking at like, man, maybe that person should be leading instead of you. It's like, that could be a huge win. Okay? So, look for those opportunities. Give those opportunities. Give them to people before they are ready. Okay? Most of you guys have been given opportunities that are far beyond your qualification. Case in point, you are currently, most of you, if you're squad leading, you're in a position where you are leading and discipling people who are like 1 or 2 years younger than you. Most of the world would look at that and be like, that is insane. They are not ready. And some of you probably already feel that. I'm not ready. Okay. And we've given you that opportunity. We are empowering you and we're allowing you to step into things. I love it. That's something I've loved about working at AIM. Seth and other people who were my bosses like Bob Mudd and Steve Basden, man, they gave me responsibility and opportunity that made no sense. By all like strategic reasoning, it was a bad plan. This guy was not ready. But they saw something and they believed in me and they put me in a place. And then here's the other thing, guys. They gave me the resources that I need and they supported me and they developed me as I do it. Okay? You can't just be lazy and call it empowerment. Guys, I am naturally lazy when it comes to this stuff. I'll be like, all right, I'm going to empower you guys. You guys got this thing. And I'll just like go over here and do my thing, right? And I was like, yeah, I'm empowering. I've released authority. It's like, okay, yeah, but I didn't actually help them step into this thing. I didn't give them the resources or the training that they needed. I didn't give them the support. I didn't talk to them and be like, hey, how do you guys think you should do this? Like, I'm not telling them what to do. I'm helping them think through a process because they've never done it before. Okay? I am actually helping them be successful at what they're doing. And then over time, you get to step back more and more and more. But you need to give them the resources, the training, the support they need. Make sure that they know you are there if they need to lean on you. And that you are not just leaving them on their own. And then after they complete or as they're doing something that you've given them responsibility for, you follow up. How'd it go? Did you do it? What did you learn? Guys, I've had some opportunities where I empowered people to do things like this one time our Gap Year squad was going to the field and I empowered our logistics team to get our visas to Vietnam. Okay. And I was like, all right, you guys got it, right? Yeah, we got it. Okay, cool. And I gave it to them. And I ended up finding out like 2 weeks later, they still hadn't done it. And we ended up in this really awkward scenario at an airport in San Francisco where we're trying to board our flights. And they're like, you don't have visa authorization yet. And I was like, oh my gosh. And there's a part of me that's like, I told them to do that. And it's like, okay, I am a 40-year-old leader who is ultimately responsible for this thing. And I handed it to a bunch of 18 and 19-year-olds and said like, all right, go ahead. And I never followed up. That was my failure. That was my laziness. So make sure you follow up. Hey, did you get that done? How'd it go? What did you learn? Or, if you're observing, it's like, hey, here's what I saw in you as you did this. Here's what you did a great job of. Here's where you could use some improvement, and then you could talk about what's a future opportunity. How else can you step into this? Okay. Another thing with this, with empowerment, is like you guys as leaders need to provide covering when people make mistakes. Okay. Because what people are going to realize really quick is if it's okay for people to risk and fail under your leadership. So go back to, we're in San Francisco, squad is trying to check in for their flight. We realize we don't have visas, okay? And people start looking around like, what the heck? And this time I stepped up and I was like, guys, I am so sorry. I didn't get this taken care of. And I went up to the desk. I kind of took over the solution of the problem because at that time, the 18 and 19-year-olds were freaking out and they were not qualified or equipped at this point to do it. So I was like, this is where I realized I need to step in. But in front of the squad, it was like, guys, this is on me. I'm sorry. Over in the corner, we've got like the two people who were kind of responsible for it, and they're watching and they're like, oh man, like they know that they were supposed to do it. They're also watching me as a leader step in and take the hit for them. And they realize, like, if I make mistakes, Bill is going to provide covering for me. And I learned from a great guy who actually used to be a leader at AIM, and he worked in our IT department, is he said, all right, we praise people in public, we correct in private. And so later on, did I meet with those leaders? And it was like, okay, guys, what happened? Also, my bad for not following up with you. But in the presence of others, there was safety for them because I was going to cover over their mistakes, okay? So let's remember, your task in leadership is to bring out the greatness in others. It is not to put your greatness on display. Make it your goal that others will outshine you. You win when other people win. As you grow and as you mature in leadership, like one of the greatest things you get to see is other people succeed and nobody's looking being like, oh, Bill, that's awesome that you did that, or that's awesome that you helped that person. And it's just like, Bill, did you see how good of a leader Esther is? Did you see how good of a job Leanne did at that? And I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. Aren't they amazing? I'm not saying like, yeah, I set them up to do that. I taught them that. It's like, no, like, yeah, isn't it great to see her step into her thing? And there starts to become this culture around you where people start looking around also and seeing like, what's the potential in other people? How do I help bring it out? What's the potential in me? What are the opportunities? And you get this thing where you aren't pushing the squad forward on everything. It's like, oh man, together we are owning and we are creating. And if we go back to where we started, beginning with the end in mind, empowerment is 100% a part of this process. We are helping people discover the amazing stuff the Lord has put in them and how they can put it to work. So, as always, I would encourage you guys, have some discussions in your team. What's your strategy? How are you guys going to make this a regular practice that you are hunting for potential? You are creating opportunities for people to have ownership and to step into greatness. And are you supporting them, giving them the resources they need? And are you following up and debriefing so that people get to learn from their successes and their failures?